There's a lie that far too many people believe, especially when life becomes painful, that hard times are punishments, that somehow your struggle is proof that you did something wrong, that you're being singled out, that the universe is against you, or that you're not worthy of peace and success. But that's not the truth. In fact, it's the exact opposite. Hard times are not punishments, they're preparation. They are the furnace in which purpose is forged, the classroom where character is shaped, and the proving ground where strength is born. Look closely at the most successful, the most resilient, the most unshakable people you know or admire. You'll find a common thread. They've suffered, they've failed, they've been betrayed, broken, overlooked, misunderstood. But instead of letting that bury them, they let it build them. Instead of folding under pressure, they grew under it. Why? Because somewhere along the way, they realized something powerful. The hard times were giving them something comfort never could. Comfort teaches you nothing. Ease doesn't test you. Safety doesn't stretch you. It's in the fire where you discover who you really are. When everything falls apart, you find out what you're made of. And if you choose to rise, not retreat, you begin to see that maybe, just maybe, this pain was preparing you for a version of life that demands more discipline, preparing you for opportunities that require deeper wisdom, preparing you to lead, to endure, to speak with authority, to move with compassion, to stand with power. You don't learn that in the good times, you learn it in the valley, in the silence, in the tears. In the late nights where you're asking, why me? And here's the answer: because you were meant to carry more. You were meant to grow bigger. You were meant to live bolder. But that next level version of you, the one you've dreamed about, the one who walks with clarity and confidence, that version is expensive. It costs you your comfort. It costs you your excuses. It costs you the parts of yourself that don't belong in your future. And hard times, they come to collect that price. They come to strip away what can't stay. That's not punishment, that's process. Think about it like a seed. If you plant it in the ground and come back 2 days later expecting a full tree, you'll be disappointed. But that doesn't mean the seed is broken. That doesn't mean it's not growing. Beneath the soil, where no one sees it, pressure is being applied. The outer shell is breaking. Roots are digging deep. It's messy. It's slow, it's hidden, but it's necessary. That's what your hard season is. It's your underground season. It's where your roots go deep, so that when the breakthrough comes, you don't fall at the first sign of wind. Because you've been prepared, and preparation isn't always pretty. Sometimes it looks like betrayal. Sometimes it looks like financial struggle, heartbreak, confusion, delay. But those are tools in the hands of transformation. They are not signs that you are off track. Sometimes they're the clearest evidence that you are exactly where you need to be, being stretched, being tested, being made ready for what's ahead. A prepared person is a powerful person. But there is no preparation without pressure. There is no growth without grit. So the next time life hits you, instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this preparing me for? That shift in mindset changes everything. Suddenly, your pain has purpose. Your struggle has meaning. You're not being buried, you're being planted. And if you hold on, if you keep showing up, if you stay in the process, something powerful is going to rise out of this. There's a version of you that you haven't even met yet, a stronger, braver, more focused version. But that version doesn't show up when things are easy. That version doesn't reveal itself when life is smooth and predictable. It comes out in the struggle. It's unlocked by adversity. Pressure introduces you to a strength you didn't know you had. And the truth is, most people never discover how powerful they are because they run from discomfort the moment it knocks. But life has a way of backing you into a corner. A way of stripping everything away until all you're left with is no safety net, no distraction, no backup plan. And it's in that moment, when your back is against the wall, that something raw and real gets activated. A hidden strength, a buried fire, an instinct that says, I can't quit now. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to have all the answers. But when you're in the middle of the storm and you're still standing, still breathing, still fighting that strength. That's power. That's something you didn't know you were capable of until life forced it out of you. Strength isn't built through comfort. It's carved out by resistance. A muscle only grows when it's pushed past its limit. You don't gain endurance by sitting still. You gain it by moving through pain, by pushing when everything in your body says stop. That's how inner strength works too. You don't find it in theory. You find it in the fire. When your heart is broken, when your plans fall apart, when people walk away, when nothing makes sense and somehow you keep going, you hold the line, you get out of bed, you face another day, that's strength, not weakness. And most of the time, that strength doesn't look glamorous. It doesn't feel heroic. It's quiet. It's messy. It's you choosing not to give up when quitting would be easier. It's doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like doing it. It's reaching deep into the core of who you are and saying, I was built for this. That's when strength is born, and once you access it, you don't go back to who you were before, because now you've seen what you're capable of. Now you've tasted the resilience that was hiding beneath the surface, but adversity has to come first. That's the catch. You don't unlock strength by reading a quote or watching a video. You unlock it when you're thrown into a situation that demands it. A financial hit, a health scare, a loss, a major setback. These are not just random trials, they're mirrors. They reflect to you who you really are, not who you pretend to be, not who you post about, but who you are when the pressure is on and the lights are off. And what you'll often find if you don't run, if you don't numb, if you face it head on, is that you are far more capable than you believed. There's a certain kind of power that only pain can bring out. A kind of fire that only shows up when everything else has been stripped away. You won't find that fire in times of peace. You'll find it when your world is shaking and you choose to plant your feet anyway. That's the strength the world needs from you. Not the image, not the surface, but the kind of strength that comes from knowing you've been through hell and didn't break. The kind that can look chaos in the eye and say, you picked the wrong one. The worst moments in life are not just obstacles, they're invitations. Invitations to rise, to become, to level up. But you don't grow by accident. You grow by decision. You grow when you say, this might hurt, but it won't defeat me. This might shake me, but it won't destroy me. And little by little, you start walking taller. You speak differently. You carry yourself with a quiet confidence because you've seen your own strength. You didn't read about it. You didn't borrow it. You earned it. You lived it. You became it. Somewhere along the way, people started to believe a dangerous lie that showing emotion is weakness, that breaking down means you're broken, that doubt disqualifies you from strength. But let's be real. Everyone cries. Everyone struggles. Everyone questions their path at some point, no matter how strong they look on the outside. The difference between the people who make it through and the ones who don't isn't that one group never breaks, it's that they don't stay broken. They don't quit. Crying doesn't make you weak. It means you're human. It means you care. It means you're carrying something heavy and your heart hasn't gone numb. If you're feeling pain, it doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're alive. It means you're still in the fight. There's nothing weak about standing in the middle of the storm and letting your tears fall. That's strength, not weakness, because real strength is raw. It's messy. It's the ability to show up even when you don't have all the pieces together. Doubt doesn't make you weak either. Doubt is a sign that you're reaching for something bigger than yourself. It's proof that you're stepping into unknown territory, pushing past what's comfortable. If you didn't doubt yourself from time to time, it would mean you're not stretching. You're not risking anything. But when you're going after something real, healing, growth, purpose, doubt is part of the journey. The key is not to let it paralyze you. Feel it, face it, but don't let it run the show. Struggling doesn't make you weak. Struggling means you're fighting. It means you're resisting the urge to give up. People confuse struggle with failure, but you're not failing because you're finding it hard. You're not off track because you're tired. This journey is not about who looks strongest, it's about who stays in the game when it's brutal. It's about who keeps showing up after life hits them hardest. That's what makes you powerful, not the fact that you avoided the pain, but the fact that you endured it. Weakness isn't found in the tears or the doubt or the struggle. Weakness shows up when you throw in the towel, when you let go of your future because the present feels too painful. Quitting is the only thing that can truly rob you of your growth. Everything else, the fear, the delay, the confusion, that's just part of the process. Those things pass, but quitting locks you out of the life you could have had. And too often, people stop not because they're incapable, but because they convince themselves they weren't supposed to feel what they're feeling. You're allowed to break down. You're allowed to question the journey. You're allowed to say, I don't know how I'm going to make it through this. What matters is what you do next. What matters is that after the tears, after the doubt, after the fear, you get up. Even if it's just a little bit stronger, even if it's shaky, even if it's just enough to take one more step. You don't have to leap forward. You don't need a grand comeback. You just need the strength to not quit. There are people who look like they have it all together, but if you saw behind the curtain, you'd see moments where they nearly gave up too. You'd see the nights they cried themselves to sleep, the days they felt like imposters, the mornings they almost didn't get out of bed. But they did. They kept going, and that's why they got through. Not because they didn't feel pain, but because they didn't let the pain make the final decision. You may be in a dark place right now. You may be questioning everything, but none of that disqualifies you from your breakthrough. If anything, it means you're closer than you think. Because the moment you feel like you have nothing left, that's often the moment just before everything shifts. And if you can just hold the line, even when your hands are shaking, even when your eyes are full of tears, you'll start to see that struggling doesn't mean you're losing. It means you're still in it. There's something powerful about pain, but not in the way we often think. Most people want to run from it, numb it, bury it, pretend it never happened, and that's understandable. Pain hurts. But what if pain wasn't just something to survive? What if it was something to use? Because the truth is, your pain has purpose. What you've walked through, cried through, fought through, it didn't come to end you. It came to prepare you, yes, but even more than that, it came to position you to help someone else rise. There are people out there who need to hear your story. People who are drowning in the same darkness you once made it through. They don't need perfection. They don't need someone with all the answers. They need real, they need raw. They need someone who knows what it's like to break and still come back stronger. And that someone is you. But you can't help them if you bury your breakthrough. You can't lead them out if you pretend you never had to find your own way. Pain creates connection. Not the kind built on performance or image, but the kind built on truth. When you've suffered deeply, you know how to see people deeply. You listen differently. You speak with more weight. You carry a quiet authority, not because you read it in a book, but because you lived it. You understand grief not as a theory, but as something that changed your life. You know how to show up for someone in their worst moment, because you've had your own. And that is a gift, but most people never realize it. They think they have to be healed before they speak, whole before they help, perfect before they show up for someone else. But the power is in the process. The transformation is not just about your own healing, it's about becoming a guidepost for others. When you come out of the storm, you don't just come out with scars. You come out with maps. You come out with stories that say, if I made it through, you can too. And some of the very things you're most ashamed of, the things you've hidden from the world, those are the exact things someone else needs to hear. There's someone who thinks they're alone in their addiction, their depression, their failure, their heartbreak, and your voice, your journey, could be the very thing that interrupts their spiral. That speaks life into their emptiness. That says, I've been there, I know the weight, and I know how to get back up. See, your pain was never meant to just sit inside of you. It was meant to shape you, to deepen you, and eventually to flow through you. What if the worst thing that happened to you becomes the thing that unlocks freedom for someone else? What if your rock bottom becomes someone else's survival guide? That's purpose. That's redemption. That's how you take back power from the very thing that tried to break you. You weren't just meant to overcome, you were meant to carry light. To walk into rooms, into conversations, into people's lives, and bring a different kind of presence. Not because you're above them, but because you've walked beside pain and didn't let it make you bitter, because you turned suffering into strength, and because now you can look someone in the eye and say, with full authority, you're going to make it. The beauty of this journey is that you don't need a platform or a title to have impact. You don't need a stage. You just need a willingness to be honest, to be seen, to say, this is where I was, and this is how I found my way out. Because someone is where you used to be, and they are silently waiting for someone like you to show them it's possible to heal, to rebuild, to rise. When you're in the middle of a storm, everything feels like chaos. You can't see clearly, you can't plan your next step. The wind is howling, the pressure is suffocating, and the world feels like it's spinning too fast. It's disorienting, it's exhausting, and sometimes it's terrifying. But no matter how violent the storm is around you, there's something deeper, something quieter inside you that refuses to give up. That's not by accident, that's your design, because you weren't made to live in fear. You were built to endure, to outlast, to overcome. There's something in you that the storm can't touch. It's not loud, it's not flashy, it's steady. It's buried beneath the doubt, beneath the anxiety, beneath the confusion. But it's there, that still, solid part of you that rises every time you fall, the part that whispers, keep going. When everything else tells you to quit, you don't have to feel strong to be strong. Strength isn't about how you feel in the storm. It's about how you stand in it. How you keep showing up when everything in you wants to disappear. Storms test what's real. They strip away what was never meant to stay. They shake the surface, but they also reveal the foundation. And if you've made it this far, through the heartbreak, the setbacks, the failures, the disappointments, then that means your foundation is stronger than you think. Because you're still here, that matters, that counts for something. When life pushes you to the edge and you don't let go, that's endurance, that's resilience, that's proof that the storm didn't win. You might not recognize yourself right now. You might look in the mirror and see someone tired, someone unsure, someone barely holding it together. But look again, look closer. That tired person has been through battles most people couldn't survive. That unsure soul kept walking when the road disappeared. That person holding it together with thread and willpower is still breathing, still fighting. That's not weakness. That's power disguised as perseverance. You weren't meant to live your entire life in peace and safety. Growth doesn't happen there. Storms introduce you to dimensions of yourself that comfort will never show you. They force you to evolve. To dig deeper, to access levels of courage, wisdom, and determination that have been sitting dormant, waiting for the right conditions to be activated. And those conditions don't look like peace. They look like pressure. The irony is, the storm isn't just trying to take something from you, it's trying to give something to you. Perspective, strength, clarity. You start to realize what matters, who matters. You find out what you can live without and what you must protect at all costs. And most of all, you realize that circumstances may shift, seasons may change, but your spirit, that unbreakable core within you, can remain unshaken if you choose not to surrender. Some storms come to disrupt your life. Others come to realign it. What feels like chaos right now might actually be removing the things that can't go with you into your future. It might be showing you who you really are beneath the roles, beneath the expectations, beneath the masks. And that truth is not always comfortable, but it's necessary. Because once you know what you're made of, you stop settling for less. You stop shrinking to fit. You stop living like you're fragile when you've already proven how unbreakable you really are. Time doesn't erase storms. It reveals what they've built in you. Every scar, every loss, every lonely night, they've been shaping something sacred in your character. You may not feel it right now, but you are becoming more. More grounded, more focused, more powerful, and the day will come when you look back and realize that the storm didn't destroy you, it shaped you. Not into who you were, but into who you were always meant to be. Every storm, every tear, every sleepless night has been shaping something inside you that comfort never could. You weren't being punished, you were being prepared. You weren't weak for feeling pain, you were revealing your strength. And the struggles you've carried, they were never just about you. They were forging a voice, a story, a light that someone else is waiting to see. The doubt you wrestled with didn't disqualify you, it stretched you. The days you nearly quit didn't break you, they built your endurance. The wounds you tried to hide are the very signs that you fought battles and came through the other side not as a victim, but as a survivor. You may not have chosen the storm, but you can choose what it creates in you. You can choose to rise, to fight, to stand, to speak, to lead. You can choose to let your pain push you, not define you, because your story is far from over. And no matter how dark it feels right now, no matter how heavy the weight is, you were built for this. Not just to survive it, but to overcome it and become the reason someone else believes they can too.